Welcome, dear friends. Today I'm going to tell you a story of forbidden love, shocking secrets, and a chance at redemption. Enjoy the story. Jack Harrington was fuming. The 58-year-old real estate tycoon paced the marble floors of his Upper East Side penthouse, a tumbler of scotch in his hand. His 20-year-old daughter Emily was late coming home yet again. The ornate grandfather clock in the foyer struck 2 a.m., just as the click-clack of high heels announced Emily's arrival. She stumbled in, designer dress askew, makeup smeared, clearly intoxicated. "Where the hell have you been?" Jack demanded. "Out partying and whoring around, no doubt. You're an embarrassment." "Oh, spare me the lecture, Dad," Emily slurred. "We both know you're one to talk, the way you treated Mom." Jack's eyes flashed with rage. Even after all these years, the mere mention of his ex-wife Sarah made his blood boil. "Don't you dare bring her up. She was weak and pathetic. I'm the one who made something of myself while she withered away and offed herself. Best thing she ever did, leaving me to raise you alone." Angry tears streamed down Emily's face. "You're a monster. The way you belittled her, controlled her, drove her to suicide. I was 12 years old and I found her body. Did you know that? Do you even care?" "Boo-hoo, poor little rich girl," Jack sneered. "Here's a reality check. The world doesn't revolve around you and your teenage angst. Now go sleep it off. You're useless to me like this." "I'll show you useless," Emily screamed. "I don't need you or your money. I'm leaving." She turned on her heel and stormed up the winding staircase. Jack heard her rummaging around, then moments later she reappeared, Louis Vuitton suitcase in hand. "Good riddance," Jack spat as she headed for the door. "You'll come crawling back in a week, begging for your platinum card." Emily shot him a withering glare. "Screw you, Dad. I hope you rot in hell." With that, she was gone, the heavy wood door slamming behind her. Jack sank onto the leather sofa and drained his scotch. Good, let her try to make it on her own. She'd learn soon enough how much she needed him. 2 hours later, Emily sped along a dark country road in her cherry-red BMW convertible. Hot, angry tears blurred her vision as she replayed the fight with her father. How dare he speak about her mother that way? Sarah had been a gentle, loving soul, ground to dust beneath Jack Harrington's designer shoe. Emily still had nightmares about finding her pill bottle and suicide note. "Dearest Emily," it had read, "I'm so sorry, but I can't go on like this. Your father's cruelty is more than I can bear. Please know that I love you always. Be strong. Don't let him break you like he broke me." But here she was, 8 years later, still trapped in his gilded cage. Not anymore, Emily vowed. She'd make a life for herself, far away from Jack and his toxic world of wealth and pride. Suddenly, a figure stumbled into the road directly in her path. Emily screamed and slammed the brakes, but it was too late. The BMW struck the man head-on, sending him flying. He hit the pavement with a sickening thud. "Oh my God!" Emily leapt from the car and raced to the prone form. "Sir, are you all right? Sir, can you hear me?" The man groaned and opened his eyes. He was young, maybe mid-20s, with sandy hair and kind gray eyes. His shirt was torn and blood-stained. Emily's heart raced as she crouched beside him. "I'm so sorry you came out of nowhere. Are you hurt? Should I call 911? The man shook his head, wincing. He opened his mouth, but no sound emerged. "You can't speak?" Emily's brow furrowed in concern. The man shook his head again, then mimed writing. "Oh, hang on." Emily dug a pen and notepad from her purse. "Here." The man scribbled and handed it back. "I'm okay. No hospital. Just need to get home." "Let me give you a ride. It's the least I can do." He hesitated, then nodded. Emily helped him up, feeling a tingle as his large, rough hand clasped hers. She settled him into the passenger seat and collected his notepad, which had fallen. A small town address was scrawled inside the cover. "All right, let's get you home. I'm Emily, by the way." The man wrote, "Nathan, nice to meet you, Emily." He flashed her a shy smile, and despite everything, Emily felt herself smiling back. What was it about this mysterious stranger with the charming grin? She put the car in gear and sped off into the night. 30 minutes later, Emily pulled up a gravel drive leading to a quaint farmhouse nestled among rolling hills. Chickens pecked lazily in the yard. Wildflowers bloomed amidst the tall grass. Golden sun peeked over the horizon, bathing everything in a rosy glow. Wow, Emily breathed. It's beautiful out here. Nathan looked pleased. He scribbled, "It's home" on the notepad and climbed out, gesturing for Emily to follow. She walked with him up the creaky wooden steps to the front porch where he unlocked the door. Inside was cozy and inviting, worn armchairs strewn with colorful quilts, shelves crammed with well-thumbed books, an antique pie safe, so different from the cold austerity of her father's penthouse. Nathan lit an oil lamp and scratched out, "Sorry, no power yet. Saving up. Please sit. I'll get us tea." "Oh no, I should go," Emily hedged. Nathan reached for her hand, brown eyes pleading. "Please stay. Just for a bit?" Emily bit her lip, surprised to find herself tempted. What was the harm? Not like she had anywhere else to be. Slowly, she sank into the offered chair. Nathan flashed her a brilliant smile and disappeared into the kitchen. He returned shortly with 2 mismatched steaming mugs and a plate of blueberry scones. "Did you make these?" Emily bit into the flaky pastry and nearly groaned. "They're amazing." Nathan ducked his head, pleased. He jotted, "My mother's recipe, grows the berries herself. She lives nearby?" A shadow crossed his handsome face. "She passed last year. Cancer." "I'm so sorry," Emily said sincerely, touching his arm. "My mom died when I was young, too. I know how much it hurts." Nathan squeezed her hand in shared sorrow and understanding. They sipped their tea in companionable silence, watching the sun climb high. "I should go," Emily said at last. "My dad will be wondering where I am." Nathan frowned and quickly wrote, "Forgive me if I overstep, but when you hit me, you seemed very upset, running from something. Is everything all right? Do you need help?" Tears pricked Emily's eyes at his unexpected kindness. When was the last time anyone had truly seen her, cared about her problems? Before she quite realized it, the whole sordid tale spilled out. Her father's cruelty, her mother's suicide, the suffocating misery of her gilded life. Nathan listened intently, warm hand clasped in hers. When she finished, he squeezed her fingers and began writing rapidly. "I have an idea. It's unconventional, but hear me out. What if we got married?" Emily gaped at him. "What? We just met, and you're proposing?" No, not a real marriage, just on paper. Think about it. What would upset your father more than you marrying some penniless, mute farmer? He'd be livid. It's the ultimate rebellion." Emily stared at him, pulse accelerating as she considered it. Her dad would absolutely lose his shit if she suddenly turned up married to a nobody. Served him right, after the way he disrespected her mother's memory. "It's crazy," she breathed, "but I'm intrigued. Let's discuss more tonight, over a bottle of wine perhaps?" She winked. Nathan grinned hugely and raised his mug in a toast. Hours later, Emily's head spinning from homemade mead and revolutionary plots. Marriage to a gorgeous mystery man to destroy her father? It sounded like something out of one of the smutty romance novels she used to sneak from her nanny. But hey, that's what dear old dad got for calling her useless. Get ready, Jack Harrington. Your precious daughter was about to bring scandal to the family name, and she'd relish every second of it. 3 weeks later, Jack Harrington stormed into his office and slammed the door so hard it rattled the Renoir. His secretary, Judy, poked her perfectly coiffed head in. "Everything all right, Mr. Harrington?" "No, everything is not fucking all right," Jack snarled. "My daughter, my own flesh and blood, just married some goddamn farmer, a penniless nobody, and a mute to boot." Judy's eyebrows nearly hit her hairline. "Emily got married? When? To whom?" Jack thrust a crumpled newspaper at her. There on the front page of the society section was a photo of Emily in a simple white dress, holding hands with a sandy-haired man and grinning hugely. The headline screamed, "Billionaire's daughter weds mute Missouri farmer in secret ceremony." 2 weeks ago, apparently, Jack bit out. "I had to find out from the fucking tabloids. No warning, no explanation. What the hell was she thinking?" "Perhaps it's true love?" Judy offered. "True love? Don't be stupid," Jack scoffed. "The girl's never had a serious relationship in her life. No, this is about me. She did this to hurt and humiliate me, I guarantee it." He pounded a fist on his mahogany desk, teeth bared. "Well, it won't work. No daughter of mine is staying married to some podunk redneck. Not if she wants to keep her trust fund. I'll drag her back here if I have to. Mind made up, Jack reached for the phone. Judy, get my jet fueled and ready. And find out where the hell this Nathan Walters lives. I've got a marriage to destroy. Emily lazed on the porch swing, head on Nathan's shoulder, their hands entwined. Marrying her rescuer to spite her father had been impulsive, deliciously scandalous. Some of the best weeks of her life, honestly. Sure, it was a little strange to share a bed platonically with her hunky husband, but they were taking things slow. There'd be plenty of time for marital intimacy once the paparazzi furor died down. Nathan nuzzled her hair affectionately and Emily smiled. He was so different from the stuffed shirts she usually dated. Humble, hard-working, an amazing cook and listener. She could almost see herself falling for him, contract marriage or not. The roar of an approaching car shattered her reverie. Emily sat up with a frown. They rarely got visitors out here. Nathan tensed beside her, brows knitting. A sleek black town car rolled up the drive, and a familiar figure climbed out. Emily went cold. Jack. He'd found them. Well, well, well. So this is where you've been hiding. Her father's tone could have frozen lava. Dad, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing, he seethed. Imagine my shock when I opened the paper to find my daughter had married some redneck farmer, without my consent or blessing. Nathan stood, hands balled into fists, glaring at Jack in warning. Emily moved protectively in front of him. I don't need your blessing, she spat. I love Nathan. He understands me like you never could. Love, Jack scoffed. Don't be naive. He's a gold digger after the Harrington fortune like all the rest. He turned to Nathan, eyes hard. What's your game, farmer? How much to divorce her quietly? $1, 2? Name your price. Nathan just glared harder. Jack threw up his hands. What's the matter, cat? Got your tongue? Too stupid to speak? Don't you dare insult my husband, Emily snarled. He's 10 times the man you are. You're the stupid one if you think I'd ever leave him for your money. You watch your mouth, girl, Jack roared. Need I remind you who's funded your lavish lifestyle? All the clothes, cars, schooling? You'd be nothing without me. No, you're nothing without your wealth and power. An empty husk who drove away anyone who ever gave a damn with your toxic bullshit. I'm done being your pathetic pawn. Father and daughter squared off, trembling with rage. Nathan stepped between them, mouth set in a grim line. Then he spoke. That's enough. Emily and Jack both froze, shocked. Jack recovered first. I knew it! I knew this mute thing was bullshit. Is anything about you real, farm boy? Nathan ignored him, eyes boring into Jack's face. When he spoke again, his voice was low and furious. I'm only going to say this once, so listen close. I'm Eva Walters' son. Your former lover, remember? The woman you abandoned when she got pregnant with your child? Jack went white as chalk. You're lying. I don't have a son. DNA test me if you want. Mom told me everything before she died. How you met at that corporate retreat in the Ozarks. Your secret rendezvous. Then when she came to you, pregnant and alone, you called her a liar and a whore. Cut her off completely. Jack was shaking his head frantically, but Nathan advanced on him, eyes blazing. I grew up dirt poor, watching my single mother work herself to the bone, dreaming about the rich asshole father who abandoned us. Swore if I ever met him, I'd spit in his face. He was nose to nose with Jack now. Imagine my shock when the daughter of the man who ruined my life literally ran me over. It was like a gift from the universe, a chance to take back a piece of everything you owed us. Nathan, Emily looked stricken. What are you saying? Was our marriage just revenge? Nathan went to her, gripping her hands. At first, I admit I was using you to get to him. But Emily, I swear the time we've spent together, it's real. You've bewitched me body and soul. But if what you're saying is true... Emily pulled away, eyes filling with tears. Then we're half siblings. We can't be together. It's wrong. This is sick. No. Emily, listen to me. She's not your sister. Nathan and Emily turned to stare at Jack, who looked nauseated. He swallowed hard. I had a paternity test done years ago. Emily isn't my biological daughter. A ringing silence descended. Emily reeled like she'd been punched. What? Jack squeezed his eyes shut. Your mother, Sarah, had an affair, got pregnant. I agreed to raise you as my own, but... He shook his head. Keeping that secret ate her up inside. It's why she killed herself. Oh my God. Emily sank to her knees in the dirt. My whole life is a lie. Nathan wrapped an arm around her shaking shoulders, glaring daggers at Jack. Get out, now! Jack opened his mouth, closed it, shot Emily an inscrutable look. Then he turned stiffly and walked to the car without another word. The lovers watched him drive away. Emily turned her tear-stained face up to Nathan. Is it true? What you said about us being real? He cupped her face tenderly. Darling, I'm mad for you. Have been since the moment you almost ran me down. Marrying you is the best thing I ever did. Publicity stunt or no. Emily surged up to kiss him, and he responded hungrily, months of pent-up passion unleashing. They tumbled back into the grass, a tangle of roaming hands and fevered kisses. I love you, Emily gasped out between frantic presses of lips. I don't care about your history with my father. I just want you. I'm yours, Nathan growled, covering her body with his. Forever and always. They sealed it with a kiss, and then no more words were needed. The reunited lovers lost themselves in passion as the golden sun dipped below the hills. 9 months later, Jack Harrington stepped off the elevator, a stuffed teddy bear clutched awkwardly in his hand. He still wasn't sure what the hell he was doing here. When Nathan had called to announce the birth of his and Emily's son, Jack's grandson, he'd almost hung up. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the baby's name, Evan Jack Walters. Even after everything, they'd given the kid his moniker. Jack had spent a lifetime closing off his heart, pushing away anyone who threatened to get close. Emily, Sarah, Eva, Nathan, so much pain and hurt. What had it gotten him besides a cold, empty penthouse and a mountain of unresolved guilt? Perhaps it wasn't too late to change. Perhaps through this new life, this fresh start unmarred by the sins of the past, he could find a sliver of redemption. Jack reached the hospital room and hesitated. Then, with a deep breath, he pushed open the door. Emily was sitting up in bed, hair in a messy bun, face glowing. She cradled a small blue bundle in her arms. Nathan perched beside her, one arm around her shoulders, the other hand stroking the baby's downy head. They both looked up as Jack entered. Dad, Emily said neutrally, I didn't know you were coming. I wanted to see my grandson. Jack shifted his feet, feeling awkward and out of place. May I? Nathan gave a terse nod and Emily bit her lip. Slowly, Jack crossed the room and peered down at the tiny pink face swaddled in the blankets. Tufts of dark hair, Emily's nose, Nathan's chin. He was perfect. Jack reached out a trembling hand to stroke one petal-soft cheek. Hey there, Evan. I'm your grandpa. To his shock, the baby turned into his touch, rosebud mouth puckering. Behind him, Emily made a soft noise. Would you like to hold him? Jack blinked hard against the sudden stinging in his eyes. He set down the bear and reached out. Emily carefully passed him the warm, wriggling bundle. The moment that solid little weight settled into the crook of his elbow, something deep in Jack's chest cracked wide open. A lifetime of frozen emotions came rushing to the surface as he gazed down at his daughter's child, the perfect blending of Harrington and Walters. He's beautiful, Jack managed around the lump in his throat. Emily, I'm so sorry for everything. Emily's face crumpled, and she reached for Nathan's hand. He squeezed, offering silent support. I know I can't change the past, Jack continued raggedly. The way I treated you, your mother, Eva, and Nathan. I was wrong, so goddamn wrong. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'd like a chance to do better. For Evan, for all of you.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, is something wrong?" Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, I'm thirsty. Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job. Having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. "Meetings should be for employees only." Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick, what's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I immediately followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.